Hello there, Nerf fans. This is John here from ContainmentCrew. Unfortunately, Charles isn't here with me today. We've actually had conflicting schedules these last couple of weeks and haven't really been able to get together and work on anything. But since putting out the loadout videos, I have gotten a couple of questions about my Longshot. So this is the first time I've had this open, since it's been used recently. So I figured, I'm going to be taking it apart to clean up the lube and stuff, so it might be a good time to pop it open and show you what I have going on in there. But as I mentioned before in the loadout video, this is a pump action Longshot. The priming is with the pump up here. It can still use the priming bar back here, but I'll show you when we get inside what I've done with this. But I've already popped all the screws off of it because I don't feel like fast forwarding. So, but pop the handle off, pop this part off, but just on the front handle, just to show what's going on in there. It's hard to see with all the black on it, I guess, but a lot of this has been cut out to increase the distance that it has to travel, and I've gone ahead and actually epoxied up this whole area around where the main post goes through. Can the camera focus? Focus up, camera. But there we go. Just to help lock that in, so because between this post and this one here, that is the main driving force, and that's where all the stress is going to be. So those parts have to be nice and reinforced. Now next, pull the priming knob off the bar, pop the bar out, and we'll go ahead and open this on up. So, I'm going to hold this up to the camera here so we can try to keep it in frame. As you can see, we have a nice long priming bar that goes all the way back, and I actually, on this Longshot, unlike some other people that have done pump actions and attached it up front, I've taken it back to an already existing stress point where the priming bar normally goes through, and that's what I'm using to transition power from this slide up here to the front. Now, it might be a little easier to show this on this half of the shell because there's nothing in it right now. But down here where the front gun piece is connected, originally how this was connected is it was all just tacked in place with super glue, and then I went over it with my soldering iron and actually melted all the plastic together. And then from the outside, it has a nice thick layer of epoxy putty going over it just to help lock everything in place, and this is really, really solid, especially when the whole thing is together. But that is basically how I do most shell attachments on things, since working on Epsilon, where it was basically just held together with a bit of super glue and some screws and the occasional glob of hot glue. I think I've gotten much better at getting shells together since then. But that's basically all there is to say on that. As for the actual insides, before I talk about the priming bar here, I'm actually just going to pull this out of the way and I'll talk about that in a moment. But the actual Longshot itself, other than that, we have what is commonly referred to as an angel breech setup or an angel-like breech. The whole thing is made out of brass, slides open, and that's basically that. If you've seen a brass breech system, they're all pretty much very similar, just very minor tweaks depending on what you're actually going to be firing out of the blaster. For the most part, I only shoot stock darts, so this is designed to accept darts of a stock size. And in order to do that, on the Longshot, I've actually had to increase the draw length on it. And it's actually kind of hard to see, and probably a bit, maybe a bit better from the outside. But the draw length on this is actually slightly increased in both directions. Hopefully the camera picks it up. It's a little rough on the ends, and you can kind of tell, but from far away, the paint covers the whole thing up. So, but that's just a quick side note on that I did have to increase the draw length on this a little bit. As far as the plunger tube goes, the only thing that's in there right now is a big bad bowstring. The plunger head itself is padded with a, what is it? It's a, it's not foam, it's, shoot, I wish I had them around here. It's one of those kind of thick furniture foot things that some people use. I find they have a decent amount of compression, and I change them out every once in a while because they do break down a bit. The only other addition is on the front part of this, where the part that pushes back meets the front of the plunger tube. There is a rubber washer around there to help improve that seal. So that is the basic setup on this. If I do another brass breach on anything, I will be making a video on it just to show how I do brass work. If you want to know more about brass work, there's a lot of Nerf communities out there that have really good write-ups on brass work. But this is just a simple overview. Okay, and we're back after Charles decided to interrupt this with a phone call, because I guess even when he's not here, he's here in spirit. But the transition bar I made, this was taken from a 1/2-inch aluminum bar, and I measured it out, cut the pieces, trimmed the whole rail system down, and the whole thing is mounted on 1/4-inch polycarbonate, and it's all mechanically fastened and glued. So the whole thing is very, very solid and does a very good job of transitioning the power from the front pump to the actual priming bar. But the one note about the way I did this is, in order to get this to slide, the bottom track in the blaster actually had to be completely sanded out for this to slide back and forth. And as you can see, it's a little rough and this needs to be re-lubed, but again, when the whole thing is together, it slides much, much better. But sorry, maybe the lighting's not great. But this whole area down here is blown out, and this whole track running straight down across has all been sanded and smoothed out, and that's where it runs along. And between the shell and the bolt sled, there is plenty of space in there for the aluminum to fit. I believe, again, this was a 1/2-inch bar, and the thickness of the bar is 1/4-inch. Overall, I'm very happy with this Longshot. It performs basically average for a brass breech Longshot with the spring power. It's right where performance should be. I mostly use this for HVZ, so again, you know, most engagement ranges in HVZ are under 50 feet, so you know, you don't need a killer blaster to stun the zombies. But things I'd like to do with this in the future, I would like to fix up the grip a bit. I feel that it's a little too small for my massive hands. I'd like to get some sort of actual, maybe pistol grip on this to hold it a little better. Maybe something along the lines of a Raider handle. I've got plenty of Raider parts hanging around. And I would like to incorporate something in the front here. I feel this little piece is actually just sitting there doing nothing, but if maybe I could get like a flashlight head in there. Possibly an ammo counter on it, something to think about for the future, but otherwise I'm really happy with this. It's, you know, been my primary blaster for almost a year now, so but that's what I've got going on with this. Again, if I do a brass breach in the future, I do plan on recording that and showing how I do brass work. But if you're looking to find information on that in the future, I'll put a couple of links down in the description for you guys. Other than that, the main difficulty with this was just getting all the measurements right and figuring out exactly how long I needed to make things, and then, you know, cutting the pieces out is fairly simple. I've got a scroll saw. Although you could cut the polycarbonate with a Dremel wheel. Everything in this blaster, aside from the brass, which I had to buy online because nobody around me carries brass, but everything else was, you know, purchased at Home Depot and Lowe's, so everything was readily available except for the brass. If you guys have any more questions, you know, leave them in the comments. I know YouTube recently changed their comment system, and it makes it kind of a mess for sorting out a large number of comments now, but I'll try to keep an eye out for anything, you know, important and get back to you guys. But, you know, I hope you enjoyed, and, yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching, guys.